said it. That's his claim.
You've asked me to defend a random possibility.
No, there's no random possibility. Do you think nothing even exists?
You can define nothing in a number of ways. It depends on what you mean by nothing. Right?
How do you define it?
How do I define it? Again, what I'm saying is that you can define nothing in a number of different ways. You could say.
Go on, give it a shot. No, I'm serious.
You're missing the point of what I'm saying.
I'm not.
Okay.
Because you said there is a possibility for it to come from nothing.
Yeah.
Hence, I asked you, let's define nothing. Because as far as I'm concerned, nothing doesn't even exist. Right. It's a concept.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. All right.
What do you mean that's fine?
Okay. No, I mean,
if it doesn't exist, how can something non-existence?
No, I'm saying I'll define it for you. So
okay, go on, define it.
Okay, let's say no space and no time as nothing. How about that?
What about energy?
Okay, no energy too.
Okay, does it exist?
Yeah, you could.
Not you could. It's you. Remember?
Okay, let's say it doesn't exist.
No, not let's say. Are you sure it does exist or doesn't exist?
Oh well,
you're not sure.
We already said that our position is we don't know, dude. Like,
so you don't know if nothing even exists or not.
It could easily not exist now.
So something that doesn't have weight, doesn't occupy space or time or even energy. Is there such a thing?
So as in like also it doesn't have volume.
What if I told you it was just a concept and it's in order for us?
Totally be just a concept. I mean, like in the sense that there's no, we can't touch that sort of stuff.
Okay, let me define nothing and you tell me if you agree. Okay, fair? To me, nothing is the absence of everything.
Okay, this is the classic one we've heard before. I mean,
no, but do you agree or disagree with that?
It depends on what is included in everything, obviously.
Absence of everything. I'm not saying including everything. Absence of everything.
Okay, but
so anything that you can think of,
but
anything that exists, is the absence of all that. That is what nothing is. Do you agree with that definition or do you disagree?
Okay,
and if you disagree, tell me why.
Okay,
so we're getting into the typical speaker's corner thing of like, what about this little intricacy of nothing?
What did you expect when you came to speaker's corner? Something other than speaker's corner?
Said to you, as in it always happens.
Come on, it's part of critical thinking, you know. It is.
But this is the thing: is we've gone outside of the main point, and the main point we're saying to you is we don't have to start explaining to you like where it came from, start, beginning, finish, because we've said to you from the very start that what we're saying is. The reason we may not be able to explain how it started is because maybe the way that it started may be outside of our brain's ability to comprehend.
No, but is it...
So if we cannot comprehend it, then we actually can't even discuss it because we can't comprehend it. The way our brain works, and our brain works on everything having a start, a finish, and we understand the concept of nothing, like you're saying, something where there isn't anything. All these things that are based on our everyday experience, the framework where we form ideas. Maybe the way that the universe was created is completely outside of that rule.
Okay, why is that? Why? That's the thing I'm asking you. Because the universe is something from the naturalistic world. It is something that exists, which we already agreed upon earlier. Yeah. Why would the rules apply differently to something that exists?
I mean, a lot of
than everything else that exists.
A lot of people now are saying that the universe is a simulation. We're inside of a simulation.
Do you believe that?
I don't know. I'd probably.
Yeah. So let's not take pseudoscience. No, wait. Let's not agree. It is pseudoscience. Come on.
No, but a lot of credible people are saying that.
Really? Give me one credible scientist who said this is an illusion.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk is a credible scientist about the universe.
Huh? I mean, you asked me for a credible scientist.
No, a credible scientist in terms of
me for a credible scientist.
Credible scientist in the field of astronomy.
Oh, well, in that case, I don't know.
Exactly. So let's go with the experts rather than people who are just who believe that they are an illusion. Okay.
No, hang on a sec. So, what we're talking about.
If earlier you said it's beyond our scope to understand these things. Yeah. I asked him the definition of nothing. Is that beyond your scope or is that within your scope?
No. This is the thing. Is that's why this conversation gets to a dead end. Okay.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It can be totally beyond our scope, which is to say that
the term nothing. Wait. If the term nothing is beyond your scope, then I think everything is beyond your scope.
Dude. An extra.
You know why? Because that is one of the most.
Hang on. Yeah, I'll answer.
Yeah.
Like an extra universal nothing, a nothing which is a nothing total, it's divorced from everything.
Non-existent. It's non-existent.
Outside the universe, dude. Like, that can be totally outside our scope because we have absolutely no idea what it would be and what it would entail.
Well, are you talking about nothing still?
I'm still talking about nothing.
Seriously. So you really think that nothing is something?
What do you mean?
Okay, what is your definition of nothing? I would like to know.
So I agree with your definition of nothing. What you said of nothing is where there isn't anything.
It's absence of everything.
The absence of
Yeah. In fact, I believe, and I know actually, that nothing doesn't exist. It's a concept. It's like infinity. Do you think infinity exists?
No, I agree. It's a concept. Like it's a concept. Nothing.
So you know, in mathematics, we represent nothing with zero. Yes. And infinity with the symbol infinity.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is in order for us to communicate, in order for us to formulate things, in order for us, it is a means of communication. It means for us to represent certain things. Yes. It's basically language. So if anyone says that, oh, hold on, actually nothing could be something, then they do not understand nothing. And that's the reason I asked you. One of the ways to actually rule out that the universe came from nothing would be to identify what nothing is. Because if it doesn't exist, then it cannot bring about something that does exist.
Okay.
Okay? And I think that is within our scope.
Okay.
Okay? That's all I'm saying. So if you rule out nothing, then what remains is it must have come from something or by itself, or it was existing eternally. These are the possibilities I can think of. I don't know if you want to add more possibilities.
So I agree.
Then go ahead. Yeah.
Within the way we comprehend things, all of that makes sense. But that's the whole point. Is things that we can't comprehend is things that we physically could not discuss because we could not comprehend them.
Yeah. So we cannot comprehend things about, for example, if you're coming purely from a scientific background and only from the belief in a naturalistic world, then you will deny everything that is metaphysical.
What does metaphysical mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's metaphysical?
Metaphysical is something that is beyond the physical world. By the way, this is Brother Sabur is quite an expert in this field, much better than me. That's why I called him. So what I'm saying is that because if you believe in a naturalistic world, then everything beyond. For example, do you believe you have consciousness?
That's a whole other conversation in terms
I know.
What consciousness
No, but
is.
I want to show you an example of a metaphysical entity which you have no option but to believe. You know why?
You're asking me if I believe it, if I have consciousness?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm conscious in the sense that I make decisions that I think are my own. I'm probably conscious.
Good. What about you?
I reckon so, but hey, no, man, you could have the other scenario.
The thing is that we're getting into this intricate conversation, which is fine, but the context of why we said when someone asked us, do we believe in the universe? When someone asked us, do we believe in the universe? We said we don't know. It's because we were having a debate as to whether God exists and our reasons for being atheists, right? So if we start this whole conversation into all these intricacies of why we believe, whatever, then we need to remember the context of where we were saying that.
Yeah. So as the brother just said, we are discussing about the universe, its existence, trying to understand whether this is within the scope of us as human beings to ponder into that kind of conversation, and also whether we also discussed briefly about whether it came from something or nothing. So this is where we are at present. If you want to add something to that.
What's your name, sorry?
Alexi
and Max. My name is Sabur. So, are you guys like atheists or agnostics? Like, what's
I'd probably say atheist because I don't believe in God.
Yeah, so like the classic thing to do is the Dawkins thing, which is to say, the agnostic atheist, which is to say, you don't believe there's a God, which is to say you're an atheist, but
you have a possibility open.
Obviously, dude, you can't know everything for certain, so you get to be an agnostic atheist in that.
Sure. And you mentioned Dawkins and agnostic atheism, but I'm assuming you've read some of his stuff. You're familiar with some of it.
I've read some of his stuff. Yeah,
sure. Now, have you read The God Delusion?
I read it, but years ago.
Okay. So the central argument in The God Delusion, which sort of captures the main sort of argument that atheists have today, which is that biological design is in an illusion, right? So biological design, we can no longer say is due to God. They would say it's due to biological evolution, and then they would make an extrapolation for the universe and say the universe is likely not to be designed either, right? So the central argument of the God delusion is God most probably doesn't exist. So it's that type of agnostic atheism. About that, what's your view on that?
With regards to like biological evolution, I buy it. You know, I think you know, the variety of species on Earth is likely the result of natural selection. And basically, with regards to the universe, like there's a level on which you can apply that, which is to say that stuff which you know has a hard time, which require, there's a level which that might apply to the universe, which is to say that like you would expect, sort of like for instance, one thing is much more rare than another thing, or like one type of like organization of planets, dominates another sort, then this might lead to a predominance of one sort over another. I'm totally sketchy on like Darwinian evolution applying to stuff outside of the origin of various different species.
Okay, and about his point where he makes God and biological evolution mutually exclusive, what's your view on that?
God and biological evolution are not God, which is to say the concept depends on how you define God. Obviously, you could have maybe Thor doesn't mix with it, but you could have a God which is like a creator God, or which was compatible with biological evolution. Yeah, you could do that.
Okay. So would you sort of be sympathetic to him that he sees biological evolution undermining the existence of God, the traditional arguments for the existence of God, such as design?
So, like, my understanding is, it might undermine specific gods, which is to say that, like, there are traditions and religious traditions which specifically deny biological evolution. Certain sects of Protestantism will definitely do that, and therefore you could say that, well, if we've observed this thing, well, this is a very sensible theory, then this puts serious doubt in these particular theories. So, but depending on, but when it comes to design, obviously you could have your God, depending on your conception of him, who's guides and directs evolution, for example.
Sure. See, that's a very good point, because one of the issues that exists with Dawkins' view is that he tries to make it as if it's God or evolution, when, like you rightly pointed out, you can have a view in which God and biological evolution is compatible. But the biggest problem with his actual view is the way that he projects biological evolution and Darwinian evolution in particular to be something unassailable, right? To be something undeniable. But for example, you mentioned natural selection being the main mechanism of biological evolution, right? Are you aware of other mechanisms that there's actually challenges to biological evolution?
Yeah, I've heard some guys talk about, I've heard mathematical exceptions to Darwinian natural selection. I'm not an expert on the science of this, that, and the other, but I am aware that not every super smart chap thinks Darwinian natural selection is like 100% exactly how it happened all the way from the start to the finish. But hey, dude, I'm no expert.
Yeah. So the main point which I'm trying to get across is that his very simplistic view, in which he pits God and against each other, is something that we should be very skeptical of.
We have no relation to Dawkins. Like, for me, I don't buy. I've heard Dawkins before, but as far as I'm concerned, maybe he just wants to sell books, and so he just says controversial stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't consider him as an authority in this field?
When it comes to Dawkins, I've heard him, and when I was younger, I listened to it. But thinking about it, it in no way plays a part in my thinking of God not existing.
So, like, I'll take up the challenge.
You sound sounded like a fan earlier.
Hey dude, well, I listened to him, and hey dude, if you're talking about God and atheism, you're going to hear Dawkins' name eventually.
Yeah.
Hey dude, I'll take up your challenge, but just to say that, like, when it comes to biology, it's way more than me. He's a very smart chap. He's smarter than me. I don't know. I'm sure you guys are way smarter than him. But what I'm saying is that when it comes,
we're not saying that. It's just.
All I'm saying is that, like, yeah, I'll take him as an authority in biology. He says something about biology. Like, I'm not going to straight up say, that's bullshit. Unless I have a really good reason.
Yeah, the point I was trying to get across is that these types of very simplistic narratives, they're very popular. Like you mentioned, he's very popular.
Sure.
But when you break it down and you look at it philosophically, a lot of it doesn't make any sense. So the biological argument for God's existence based upon design is not undermined by Darwinian evolution. This is a common misconception.
Loads of people, surely, I've never had an issue with, I've never thought that the idea of God and evolution clash. For me, that's never even, but for me, it's totally outside that remit. I'm not looking at evolution somehow suggesting God doesn't exist. I'm saying nobody has shown me evidence that God exists for the reason that God doesn't exist.
So that's a good segue for the design argument using biology, right? So if you look at the design of the human body, and if you look at the way that we are well adapted to our environment, and we also adapt the environment to our needs, this intricate system is calling out for a designer. So how do you explain that as an atheist?
Why does it mean that it's calling out for a designer?
Yeah, so I mean, let me just add in quickly here, which is to say that, I mean, on the intelligent design argument, definitely, a very classic intelligent pre-Darwin, intelligent design argument, could be fall down in areas because they haven't taken into account evolution, and on the regards to the human body, having I don't wish to assume anything, but if you're talking about stuff like the ISO great complex and things work very well and it's mechanically very sensibly designed, you can say by providing stuff like evolutionary mechanisms to how these sorts of things can happen, and providing an argument for why an intelligent designer might not be necessary for various things, you do argue against an intelligent design, specific intelligent design arguments. The other aspect is, with regards to intelligent design, you could have a million different intelligent designs, which is to say that the design that we have right now is not necessarily the most obvious and best one. So if you have one of the things would be why is the eagles can see much further than human beings, for example, right? Other animals have various other better traits. Whales basically don't get cancer. You can have theoretically better design that super intelligent designer could have. Right? So I'm not sure. I don't buy the intelligent design argument, but you can use evolution to argue against specific intelligent design arguments, which use specific examples.
So I agree with some of what you're saying, but there's one part I disagree with what you said.
Sure.
Now, when you spoke about optimality or the best possible, the problem is anybody can look at any particular design and say this is bad design, and someone else can say this is good design. So, for example, you could argue why is it that the deer it doesn't have the ability to turn its legs into machine guns and fight off lions, or why don't we have bulletproof skin? So we can keep doing this. So you see, perfection is a very slippery term. Now, for something to be perfect, we have to have a design specification, right? So I'll give you an analogy. Say you walk past a building which is crumbling and is breaking.